Your call.
Today, we begin making Montana a playground for the elite.
There's only one killer in Fort Worth, and that's me.
This journey will be dangerous all the way to Oregon.
With the upcoming 1944 prequel, it is clear that the Yellowstone saga is far from over. Yes, it broke our hearts with the Yellowstone finale. Yes, 1923. Season 2 is on the corner, and it confused us by not letting Spencer meet with his family until the end of the season. Yes, Taylor Sheridan has disappointed us all over and over again over the past 2 years, and yes, I get all of your complaints. But hear me out. With 1944 heading us in the future, there is no place for despair. On the contrary, based on what we know so far about the series, it is safe to assume that Yellowstone franchise will thrive once again very soon. So let's talk about it. For starters, in this new series, World War II is not going to be just a backdrop. We know that this is arguably the most important event in recent history that fundamentally reshaped American life, including for families like the Duttons. Fun fact, Montana played a key role in supporting the war effort. Apparently, at the time, with so many young men being drafted, including the ranchers' own sons, labor shortages became a serious problem. So it is not difficult to picture a scenario where the Duttons are forced to rely on the women and older generations to keep the ranch running, something that could bring in some really strong female characters. And feel free to fight me in the comments, but in my opinion, best characters of all the Yellowstone shows so far have always been the Dutton women. So I'm excited for that. There's also the rise of industrial agriculture during this era, which will inevitably create new conflicts between the Duttons and outside forces looking to modernize ranching in ways that go against their values. Because if there is one thing that remains unchanged about the Duttons, it is their hatred for the change. And 1944 will witness the peak of that hatred. One of the biggest questions I have is about John Dutton II. We know that he's the father of Kevin Costner's John Dutton, but we don't know much about him other than that he existed. 1944 is likely going to show us how he grew up and what kind of values were instilled in him during such a turbulent time. If Sheridan follows his usual approach, John Dutton II's childhood will probably be filled with a bunch of drama that forces him to be divided between his duty for the ranch and his own desires. Of course, there will also be a love story at the heart of the plot, because, who wouldn't want to witness the love story of John Dutton's parents, right? Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him struggling with the absence of a father figure, because we already know that Spencer Dutton will be the father of him, and yes, he won't survive 1923, but Jack Dutton will be there in his older age to guide his nephew. In fact, do not be surprised to see him pretending as if he is the real father of John, even though we all know he is not. This shocking reveal is likely to be the ultimate incident that kicks of John's inner struggles. But let me know what you most expect to see in this new show. As for casting, that's where things get really interesting. There have been persistent rumors that Isabel May, who played Elsa Dutton in 1883, could be recast in 1944. If true, it raises some fascinating possibilities. Since Elsa tragically died in 1883, her return could mean Sheridan is planning a clever twist, perhaps bringing her back as a completely different character. Because, let's admit, we are still not over Elsa's death, and would love to see her in Yellowstone franchise once again, even as a different character. Some theories suggest she could play a descendant of Elsa, keeping her presence in the franchise alive in a new way. Sheridan has already shown he's not afraid to do this, especially since Isabel May also narrates 1923, even though her character was long gone by then. And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room, which is the question of who will be the lead of this show. At one point, Kurt Russell was rumored to be taking on a major role in 1944, but now that he's confirmed to be starring in The Madison, which is another Yellowstone sequel, that leaves a massive question mark over who will take his place. Some of you guys have speculated that Matthew McConaughey could finally be making his long-awaited Yellowstone debut here, especially since he's been in talks with Sheridan for quite some time. And honestly, picturing McConaughey as a tough-as-nails Dutton patriarch, trying to hold everything together while the world is at war, sounds pretty incredible. He could play the older Jack Dutton, and we would love every second of it. There's also the question of how 1944 will tie into 1923 and beyond. We already know 1923 introduced the idea of government control threatening the ranch's existence, and I wouldn't be surprised if 1944 doubles down on that theme. We know for a fact that during World War II, the government seized land for military use, which could create a serious crisis for the Duttons. So expect this to be a major topic in 1944. As for when we'll get to see 1944, it looks like we're in for a bit of a wait. The current expectation is that the series will premiere sometime in late 2025, with a trailer dropping as early as October. Considering how massive 1923 has been, I fully expect 1944 to be just as ambitious, if not more. If Sheridan is really planning for this to be the final major Yellowstone prequel, before the story catches up to modern times, then he's going to go all out. And yes, these projects take time, folks. For more weekly updates on Yellowstone franchise, make sure to like and follow. If you want to get all the spoilers regarding 1923 Season 2, watch the video on the screen.